Welcome, my friends. Here we are on a Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Cold today. I have to apologize a little bit. I'm a little bit off because I had a big time physical on my body today at Brigham and Women's in town. I was in there at 10 o'clock. I left at 8. I got there at 10. In fact, I just walked through the door here about 15 minutes ago. So by the time I reviewed what Mrs. Ahern have left for me, I might make an error or two, which is not an unusual thing. But I'll try and do the best I can. And that's why I didn't get a guest, because I didn't know whether we would have had to put this off a little bit later because of the traffic coming home, which really wasn't too bad. I left Kenmore Square area, Longwood Avenue area, about 4 o'clock. And I didn't think I was going to make it because the 93 is usually a mess. But it wasn't too bad. But I just got here just now. I'm starving and I want to go home. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly tonight. We have a little weather for later on, so I can get my act together. But anyway, the first thing is Wyman Street development. Now, Wyman Street is like the top of the... Nobody ever even heard of Wyman Street before, except for Spence Farm would go there. And now these guys are trying to build houses up there and get squared away. It's just a big problem with the Wyman Neighborhood Group. Mr. Grillo, we talked about Mr. Grillo past month. He's writing a lot of letters to the Times. He doesn't understand how people can make changes. I don't know if they did make changes or how they made changes, but apparently something happened at a Conservation Commission meeting, and so they're all going to get together now. And I don't know how many people belong to the Wyman Neighborhood Group. I'm sure everybody on Wyman Street must belong to it. I would, if I lived on the street, I'd belong to it too. But the problem up there with the flooding is a problem that affects not only that neighborhood, but all the neighborhoods from Wyman Street and up into Burlington and going down towards the pond. So ultimately, that's going to have to be fixed. But each situation now where I'm not even sure where he's talking about the problem is, but if it's Melanson's, then I'm sure that Mr. Melanson will solve all their problems before he gets to sell any houses, because there's enough people got to look at it and inspect it and look at the plans and buy the plans and supervise the plans, and there's all kinds of things going on there. So let's wait and see what happens. But Mr. Grillo is a fine man with a pen, representing the Wyman Neighborhood Group, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of engineers and lawyers at the meeting he wants to hold, because he seems to think that the development will weaken the flood control plan. Now, that's his opinion. We're going to find out how many other opinions there are like that. If you want to do a subdivision today, I don't care if it's in Woburn or wherever it is, it costs a lot of money and a lot of engineering and a lot of lawyering. So it's one of the reasons that a house costs so much money in a subdivision, like the ones that are going to be built on Wyman Street. So Mr. Grillo will have a lot of work to do, keeping track of all that stuff. Now, the water meter installation is going to start in the spring, next May. I hope that's this May. I said that's the next May I'm talking about. And I was interested to hear some of the stories from, there's a woman, professional engineering woman from Weston and Sampson. Her name is Margaret McCarthy. And if my memory serves me correctly, she also kind of supervised the water meters that were put in and a lot of water work that was done in the town of Burlington. So she apparently knows what she's doing. And one of the things that came up was, it set people right off, you know what I mean? Right away when people say, oh, you might have to pay for something. Well, the city's going to do this whole thing. They're going to pay for the whole thing. except if you have a problem, like apparently the alderman from the Ward 7 who volunteered to have a meter put in, and on the experimental deal, he had to have his yard dug up because the water meter, to turn off the water, was out in the middle of the lawn. Nobody knows where it is. So finally had to dig it up and find it. But basically, that's only going to happen to very, very, very few houses. So if those people might have to do that, they may have to pay to have somebody do that. So the water meters will start. Now, according to the Times and some of the people you talk to, there'll be so much notification relative to doing this work that there's no chance of any bad person coming and robbing your jewelry or getting into the house and getting in the cellar or stealing your dog or any of that kind of stuff. You're going to get a reverse phone call. You're going to get a postcard. These plumbers, this company that's been hired to do this work is going to come into a neighborhood. The whole neighborhood will be advised as to what they're going to do. It's still going to take a while. It's not going to be, you're going to do 10,000 houses, put meters in 10,000 houses. I would think you'd have to have a pretty good crew of plumbers, which leads me to believe that I don't know if you have to, I know you have to be a plumber. To touch the city of Woburn's water supply, you have to be a licensed plumber. And then to have people work for you, you have to be a master plumber. And then you can hire other plumbers. So I don't know whether every person that's going to have something to do with putting the meter in is going to be a licensed plumber or not, because I think that would cost a lot of money. But maybe that's the way the rules are. I'm really not sure about that. But if you have a copper pipe coming into your house, and you maybe already have a water meter, you're not going to have any problem at all. It'll probably take them a couple hours to do that job. You know, to get in the house, find out where the thing is. Like if you went into my cellar right now, you probably couldn't find a water meter in the cellar because there's so much junk in there from all the years of living there, just piling that stuff in there. Every time the kids moved, they said, could you move this into the cellar? Or somebody put something in the cellar that's been there for a long time. I mean, I'll have to make, as soon as I get a postcard from them, I'll have to make a path from the cellar door to where the water meter is in the front part of the house. So those are the kind of things that's going to happen. But I think it's going to run very smoothly. I think there's a lot of people involved that are trying to come up with the best ideas and how to make this without any problems. Now, before I pat myself on the back by making all this information, there's always somebody that's going to say, nah, I don't want them in my house. They can't come in, you know. The city will have to spend money on lawyers and court and everything else to get in the house, you know. I don't know why people are like that, but we had this problem before when people were pumping, like their cellar got a little flooded in a rainstorm or in the spring. They pumped the water into the sewer, which is against the law. You can't do that. And of course, they didn't want anybody in the house. And now they think that they're going to cost them $80 million for a water meter, and the water price is going to go up and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to say, no, I don't want to have a water meter. We're not going to let you in the house, blah, blah, blah. So there'll be a few of those too. So it'll be an interesting conversation as we go along. Maybe we could set up something with the superintendent of public works and the plumbing inspector, and they could come in and tell us the funny stories that they find as they go through the city. 10,000 houses, a lot of work. Take about a year, I think. So if they say it'll take a year, you know, anything the government does takes a little bit longer. Maybe it'll be shorter. Let's look at it from an optimistic point of view. But anyway, they're going to start in May, and Margaret McCarthy from Weston and Sampson, I guess, is going to be the boss. And she supervises this for Weston and Sampson, the engineering company, because she doesn't supervise the work, but she supervises how it's done throughout the city. And I think the last time I talked to the mayor, nobody's going to pay for a drop of water through the meter without everybody paying. Like they're not gonna go to Ward 1, do Ward 1, everybody Ward 1 pays through the meter, and guys in Ward 6, they don't. But I think they're gonna do the whole city and then activate the system all at once, and everybody's, we're all the same, you know. Ha! We think we're all the same, but we're not. The Goodyear School in the Woburn Memorial High School, this building I'm sitting in right now. Official move to prevent flooding problems. There's sinks down at the far end of the building, up at the top floor, up at the Bow Street end of the building. There's like chemistry stuff and stuff. So if you get something on you, there's a way to pull a chain, the water comes down, flushes you off, you might have to take a shower or whatever. But at least you get these chemicals off of you. And they had a safety, some kind of safety seal on there. I'd have to check with my plumbing friend, Mr. Scally, and find out exactly what it was. But there's a seal, there's supposed to be a seal there, and then if the water leaks by, it notifies the people, it sets off a little alarm or something, and it's supposed to work. But anyway, when the pipe leaked, it bypassed the seal, and it flooded the place. Now that was on, it's always, now, that couldn't have been in the basement, you know what I mean? You'd say, why wasn't it in the basement? But it was on the 4th floor, water come down. So it caused some problems. Around I guess around $25,000 worth of problems. So now we go over to the Goodyear School, and the Goodyear School has a space apparently above the offices, the principal's offices. I've only been in the building once, and that was with the building inspector before the building was finished. And I can't exactly say where this problem happened, but apparently it happened above the offices, because when the pipe burst, the offices got kind of flooded, another 25, I think. So the problem was when they were discussing it with Mr. Elia, the vice president of vice president of finance. He probably would say he's not. He'd probably say he's vice president of, no, he's vice, what do we call him? We call him vice something. Of charge of money. That's what he is. He's in charge of money. But anyway, he pays the bills. So anyway, we're going to get him in here. He'll explain it to us a little better. But my own personal feeling is somebody has to, his explanation was that there's a $25,000 deductible on the insurance policy. So therefore, if your bill is $22,000, you might as well just fix it yourself and forget the insurance. So I guess over a period of years, they've decided how much the deductible should be. I say, well, 25 grand's a lot of dough, but I suppose in a school you could raise that up pretty quickly. Now, for my money, I'd like to say somebody has got to say they're responsible for that. You know, we have people, we have architects design the school. We have expert contractors come in and build these schools. That's what they do, they build schools. We have plumbers that all passed tests for their licenses. And we have inspectors that look at this stuff. So I say, you can't just say it's just an even deal because we have 25,000 deductible and we'll fix it ourselves and forget about it. You know, somebody ought to be able to say, you know, when that pipe over at the Goodyear School might have been on an exposed wall or something, now they've insulated it. Well, I think it should have been insulated before. We can argue this back and forth, but it's one of the things that old men and cranky people downtown get to complain about. So they say, Ed, are you kidding me? They say, Ed, are you kidding me? A pipe burst in a brand new school, and everybody says, well, those things happen. Well, those things shouldn't happen. Because if it happened in a brand new house, you'd be raising holy blue creep about it, you know what I mean? So I just think that we're a little bit blasé with the responsibilities of who should have noticed that in probably both those instances. I'm not sure about, like I said, I have to talk to my friend Tommy Scally and see exactly what those things are like and why it didn't set off the way it was supposed to set off. So we'll check that. Maybe I'll get back, and maybe when Aaliyah comes in here, we'll get him in here, and he can explain to us exactly what happened. We can yell at him a little bit. He deserves to be yelled at a little bit anyway. Who's he think he is? He just says, "Don't forget about it," you know. But that's going to be on our list. Mark that down now. The 2 leaks in the 2 brand new schools. Pheasant Lane, West Woburn. Council orders home demolition within 30 days. This has been going on now. There's a guy over there that owns the house. He's fighting with the superintendent of public works about tearing the house down, rehabbing the house. The neighbors don't want it there anymore. It becomes a nuisance. They asked for a 30-day extension to get a permit from Dix, and then they argue about, well, Dix says it'll come in 72 hours or 48 hours. And, you know, it just goes around and around and around. So finally they said, in 30 days, the building's going to be coming down. Now, I think the owner will have to pay for that. The city, I don't know how the city council, they have 10 cents. I don't know how they can order a guy, or if he doesn't do it, well, where are they going to get the money to do it? This is another thing that gets a little bit complicated with the city. If you want something torn down, or if you want to do something, you have to make sure that the mayor puts that money in the budget. Now, under normal circumstances, I think he would refer this over to the Board of Health. They could do that. You know, they could order a house to be torn down because it's the Board of Health. It's a nuisance. People could get sick, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, they could do it. And then they just put on the deed of the property the cost of what it cost. And then the person who owns the property has that attachment on the deed. If he goes to sell the house and everything, he has to pay the bill for tearing the house down. But anyway, they've been going at it for a while. I think once they get squared away and the house is gone, and they get the land the way the superintendent wants it, then this gentleman who's a builder, I think, he can build a house there and everybody will be happy. They'll all be happy over there. So I think a year from now, we won't even remember this story, because that's usually how long it takes for something to happen. There was an order to the editor. Support is needed for the Woburn Public Library's effort. The directors of the Woburn Public Library Foundation. Now, I said a couple of weeks ago when the mayor in his inaugural brought the library up, I thought this could be the year of the library. I think it is. I think we have some big things cooking. We have a school cooking. We have a firehouse we'll get to in a minute. And then we have the library. So the school is probably a couple of years away, and we'll have to get our ducks in a row, which we're doing that pretty well, because that's almost a mandatory type of thing nowadays. Get your ducks in a row. That means you got to have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and all the paperwork, and make sure you got a few bucks to do what they want you to do as you're going through this process with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's brutal. But anyway, that's being taken care of. We're all right with the school, the new Hurled Wyman School. And now the next thing is firehouse. That'll take a while, but some money's been appropriated. We'll get to that in a minute. And now that leaves us with the library. So I think if the mayor could come to sit down with the Library Foundation and have them do the best they can and him do the best that he can, then I think we're going to get a new addition to the library. I hope it would be this year, but if it's not, for whatever reason, it'll just be next year or the year after that or the year after that. But sooner or later, there will be a library there, a new addition to the library, because they've waited long enough and it's time. Ms. Gatta, how about the weather? What do we got for weather? Is it cold? If it's too cold, don't, all right, 19, Tuesday. Tomorrow, that's not good, 19 degrees. Wednesday, 23, 28, 35. 35 by the end of the week. Snow on Saturday. Wow. I suppose if it only snows on Saturday, that doesn't give the kids another day off. I don't know whether we're up against days off anyway, you know. But that looks all right, except it's too cold. So the furnace is going to be going longer than I thought. I didn't want it to go that long, but that's the way it goes. The other thing I was thinking of with the snow, the school days. You know, the school days, I was reading in the paper, this is kind of interesting, at least for me anyway, but the kids today, the young people that have kids in the schools, they work. Everybody has to work. You have to work nowadays. I don't get that, but everybody has to work to pay the bills, to pay the car, to pay the kids' education, help them all this stuff. So now, the decisions on a snow day like that last storm that was a little freaky, they cancel school like in the evening before the storm. Now, why they do that? They do that because that gives the parents enough time to call the grandparents or somebody and make arrangements to take care of Johnny and Mary while they're at work. Or if they can't do that, then they will have to stay home from work. Now, the days of when I was in school, and back in the day, we ought to talk about that. Back in the day, you know, your mother would come in at 6:30, 7 o'clock and say, you can roll over today, bad boy, because you don't have to go to school, there's no school. Or you'd be waiting for the whistle to blow or whatever the signal was at the time. So there'd be no school. So that was when you found out about no school. They waited till the last minute because they didn't want to have any snow days because that made you go further into the summer as far as school was concerned. So people have vacations and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's the same thing. People say, well, why don't we make up the days in February and all these vacations that the teachers and the kids have from school? Well, you make arrangements. You know, if you have a February vacation, you may turn around and take the kids to Disneyland during that week. So now you don't want to turn around and say, you can't go because the school is open. So forget that. That isn't going to work. But basically, that's the idea, to give the parents, the working parents, which are mostly everybody in today's society, a chance to rearrange their schedule for the next day when there's a snow day and the kids aren't in school. So that's the deal with that. All right. I don't know how I got from the library over to that, but oh, the weather. That was what it was, the weather. But I really believe that we can do something in the library this year. City Council, $2.7 million approved for numerous capital projects. Now, I have to look at that list. There's a list, was printed in the Times. $2.7 million. Now, I didn't want to read this, but I think I should because it just gives you an idea about where the money's going. 4 marked police cruisers, 160. This is in thousands now. 160,000. 2 unmarked police cruisers, 65,000. Fire station feasibility study, 200. Fire department bucket truck, 65. Fire department command car, 30. Fire department engine 3, 525. Park department, 72-inch ball field reel mower, 40,000. Ryan Field aerating unit, 5,000. Wow, 5,000. 12 horsepower sod cutter, 4,500. Park department pickup truck, 40,000. Demolition of a house at Whispering Hill, 410,000. I don't know what that is, but I think that's the house that's over there on the new field. If I'm not, I could be wrong about that. But Whispering Hill's a pretty big piece of area, so that's the building over there. The field is ready to go. The building has been gone through, and all the unsafe material that was in the building, if there was any, was taken out. The place has been inspected, and I think it's ready to come down in the spring. $410,000, seems like a lot of money. Inspectional services hybrid vehicle, 30. Information technology server upgrade. Whew, I'd like to know what that is, $115,000. Assessors hybrid vehicle, $30,000. Engineers hybrid vehicle, $30,000. Planning board master plan, $100,000. DPW four-wheel pickup truck, $35,000. DPW street sweeper, $190,000. DPW trash truck, $110,000. School security upgrades, $50,000. I don't know what that's for. That's another. The secret ones are the ones that they just give you quick. I mean, everybody knows what a one-ton pickup truck is. They go around, they put dirt in it and shovel stuff off it and on it and do that, and it works. You hire a guy to drive it and all that baloney. I don't know what security upgrades. Repave school parking lots and playgrounds, $30,000. That's only going to do potholes, I guess. School student furniture, $20,000. We get a lot of broken chairs in the schools, because they all seem to be the same kind of chairs. I don't know whether every school has the same kind of chairs, but any of these chairs that roll around, they break pretty easily. It's another thing I'll have to ask Aaliyah. We'll have to do something about getting better furniture. School telephone system upgrade, $125,000. School technology upgrade, $125,000. Stucco repair, Alta Vista School, $30,000. It almost be worth going to look at that to see what they can do for $30,000. Reeves School upgrade, HVAC software, $15,000. Reeves School replacement glycol. I don't know what that means. $15,000. Storage sheds at Linscott, Shamrock, White, and Joyce, $60,000. Kennedy Middle School water heater, $25,000. You ought to be able to heat a lot of water with a $25,000 water heater. But it must have something to do with being attached to the boiler or however they heat the building. But the storage sheds at the Linscott, Shamrock, White, and Joyce, $60,000. I don't know how big they have to be, but they're going to be all concrete. See, the kids will go up there and they'll put graffiti all over them and break. If there's any windows, they'll break the windows. And if there's any doors, they'll smash the doors and all that kind of stuff, just being hooligans. But I don't know if these concrete buildings have to be any bigger than the bathroom concrete building they put down at Library Park. You know, it has doors going into the ladies' room and the men's room. And I think there's a door in the back where there's a little storage area. So I don't know whether they want to just keep them so they can get like lawnmowers, anything that has anything, chemicals or gasoline or something out of the schools and put into these storage sheds. So that might be something we could look at just to cause somebody a headache. But that's where the $102-point-something million is going. And all those things, I'm sure that if you got the department head of any one of those divisions, the DPW, the fire department, the police department, or anybody down there, or in the school department would say, all of these things are absolutely necessary. Now, whether they all get done or not, that's another story. But like somebody said, if it doesn't get done, if they have like stucco repair, if the Alta Vista School, $30,000, if they don't get a chance to do that, then that money just reverts back to the general fund. It stays in the school department budget. So it's not something that gets wasted out there. Dix Road pumping station is ready to go. Every once in a while I have to do that. Dix Road pumping station is over on the Dix Road extension, which go up Lexington Street. Dix Road goes off to the right there. And then there's the brook that comes down, that goes down behind like Dunkin' Donuts down into the Glen, through the Glen and then down through the west side of Four Corners down into the pond. Now, those pumping stations for sewerage pump, that's what they pump there, sewerage. So why do they put it there? Because if the thing ever breaks down and overflows, the brook is there, it overflows into the brook, washes away. If it went down the main street or down Lexington Street and the sewer overflowed, you'd have sewerage all over Lexington Street. What would you do? Get your garden hose out there and clean it? No. That's why all sewerage pipes are basically built next to brooks or rivers or whatever. So that's the reason. Now, periodically, now that pump probably, there's a big tank there, and it fills up and they pump it out, fills up, pump it out. So I'm sure the pumps and the pipes and all that stuff over a period of years. I remember when they used to do that, the city hired somebody to do that all the time. I don't know when the last time it was done, but they're going to spend some money on the Dix Road pumping station very soon. A new fire engine and bucket truck are on the way. This kid's doing pretty well, this new fire chief. Huh? He has been in office for a minute. He's getting a new fire engine, a bucket truck, and the council okays new fire station study funding. Now, who's going to get the money to do the who's going to get the funding to do this investigation? Probably some guy from Malden who doesn't know anything about the city of Woburn, but he's an engineer and he'll know what's going on in the city. And he has to have some fire department experience because you have to know how many times the trucks go out, how many ambulances, all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty complicated thing. And it's not going to be as easily satisfied moving a fire's house or we're putting a new truck. You get a new truck, where are you going to put it? Oh, I want it in my neighborhood. He wants it in his neighborhood. She wants it in her neighborhood. So those are the things that come up with. All this stuff starts off because we've been laying in the weeds here for forever as far as the fire stations are concerned. So now it's going to come up and it's going to be a pretty complicated thing and people are going to be yelling about this, that, the other thing, but basically we'll get it done. And there's going to be a new 2-family dwelling on Prospect Street that my alderman, Mr. Gately, is happy about, so therefore I'm going to be happy about, because he claims that this gentleman from, I think it's Westford, or somewhere far away, owns that property. He's going to build a brand new 2-family house there, and he's got approvals, and it should be a very, very nice addition to that section of Prospect Street. All right. I think I might have rushed through this a little bit because I'm just in a dither because of the day I spent at the hospital where they were telling me that if I'm good, I could live to be another year or so. And maybe if after that year, another year, they just keep adding it on. You just go and they keep telling you that you're fine and then you die. But that's the way it goes, But I had a very, very busy, productive, wonderful day with all the doctors and technicians at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, and they said, Ed, go home and have a wonderful dinner, and you come back in 6 months, and we'll test you all over again. So thanks for watching. Next time.